Today, we're going to make our mosaic cane, or kaleidoscope you might call it, and we're going to make it using the pieces of cane that we made previously. You'll remember that we made a bullseye cane. That's a cane that has a center wrapped in a color, wrapped in another color. We also made Skinner blends, which are a color that keeps getting lighter as we go outside. We made a stacked cane of any two colors. We did that. Oops, sorry. And we made several jelly rolls. I don't know how many you made. You may have to make one or two more today just to have enough to do what you want to do. Now, the whole idea with the mosaic cane is to put your cane pieces together in such a way that you reshape them into a triangle. So let's say that I decide to make this the top of my triangle. All I need to do is press down and push in at the top. Press and push, press and push, press and push. Get a nice sharp point at the top and press the sides down so they touch the bottom so that we end up with an equilateral triangle. Now, if it doesn't feel quite right, turn it, press again, push, get it set so that it's a really nice triangle, all right? So once you've got this triangle going, we've changed the shape, but we've got the top of our triangle. We're going to have a triangle that comes down from here, across, and up to here. So under this piece, I have to decide to put something. So let's say I decide to take my striped cane and I place it underneath my triangle. Now, my triangle is a little bit longer. I have two choices. I can cut a piece off of the triangle, or I can expand the striped cane so that it's a little bit longer. And I think that's what I'll do. I'll just press down from the middle and then press forward, and this cane will become longer. Turn it, press down from the middle, and keep pressing, and it is going to become longer. I'm sort of thinking that might be long enough. I'll check with my roller, just make sure it's nice and smooth. Check with my triangle. Yes, that fits perfectly. Now you can see, if I cut the end of the triangle off so you can see better. Remember, we keep a dish with all of our scraps. We're going to do something with that later. But if I take the triangle and place it right on top of the stripe, I have the beginnings of a really nice mosaic cane. Now the cane continually has to go out and down a little bit further. So on each side I need to put something. I could take this cane and cut it in half and use half on each side. See, just like that. Got it cut in half. Use half on each side. I'm going to have to press it and extend it a bit because it's a little bit short for what I want. But remember, the clay will do whatever you want it to do. So if you press and extend it, it is going to fit. Press and extend it a little bit, press and extend it for the other side. Not that we need to make these symmetrical. You never have to keep them exactly the same. But for your first cane, I think you may want to. And so that's how we'll do it, all right? So now our triangle isn't looking quite right because it comes down to a point and then it bulges out. Now, for it to go down to a triangle, I have to put something underneath the bulge that will make it better. Now, I happen to have two of these little jelly rolls, and they would work perfectly if they were long enough, and they're not quite. So I'm going to extend it, just roll it a little bit, make it a little bit longer, and place one on each side. Same thing here. Just roll it, make it a little bit longer. Remember, we're working toward a kaleidoscope, and in a kaleidoscope, there's really only one triangular shape in the kaleidoscope, and then there are mirrors set up to reflect that one triangle 6 times or 8 times to make the octagon or the sexagon. So we're going to make the triangle that's going to work perfectly. Now, I think it looks to me like the bottom is wider than the top, and I do have 3 pieces of cane left. I have a bullseye, a curly cane. Um, I think I'll take this cane and I'm going to extend it just a bit. And what I'm going to do is I am going to make it square by pressing in. And then when I've made it square, I'm going to cut it in half this way. And that's not quite wide enough. So what I'm going to do is put these two side by side to make the bottom of my pyramid. And I'm going to take my little roller and I'm going to roll them so that they fit together and so that they get a little bit wider. Just gently roll, lift, turn, gently roll, lift and turn if you need to. You can see we're getting a neat little shape there with a half of a bullseye that is white with the green with the beige on top. Now I'm going to press it with my fingers because I think it's still not quite wide enough. However, I can press in the sides. So I think what I'll do is I'll leave it like that. I'll set it on top. I'm going to cut the front off of that, put it in my scrap pile, cut the back off to make it perfectly even. Put these pieces away, I'm not going to use them, and I'm going to consider this my triangle, my mosaic cane. Whoops, just lifted it off the bottom. And I'm going to begin to shrink the whole triangle down to about 1.5 inches. And the way that I do that is I press from the very middle and continue to press all the way up, and then press from the top and press all the way over, press from the middle and press all the way over, press from the bottom and press all the way over. Now we're going to go the other side. Press from the middle and go all the way over, press from the bottom, go all the way over, press from the top and go all the way over. Now, that's why you have a grid sheet, so you can look. Put it right on your grid sheet and take a look. And this actually is about 1.5 inches. It's not perfect, but it's about 1.5 inches. But what I'm not sure of is if all 3 sides are 1.5 inches. So I'm going to turn it now, put the point on that grid, and look at the other side, and oh no, this side has to come in considerably to match the first side to make it 1.5 inches. Okay, that's way better. Now I can turn it again. Put it on the line and check this side, and sure enough, this side has to come in a little bit more. So we will continually turn and press until we have a triangle that is equilateral. Now, if your clay pieces were smaller than mine, you can be working on 1 inch or 1.25 inches. Nobody has to make a triangle that's the same. The only thing you do have to do is make sure that all 3 sides are the same. All right, because we want to get at least 6 slices from this. Now you notice that the end is getting quite distorted. I'll hold that up, you can see better that the clay is turning and sticking out because of the pressing. No big deal. The inside will remain perfect. It's the inside that we're worried about, and there's always some loss on the outside. So I'm going to continue to just reduce this a little bit more, pulling and pressing, making sure it's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to turn it so it faces me. And I want to have at least 3 inches long if I can. So I'm going to cut off the bad end here, put that in my scrap pile, cut off the bad end on the other side, and put that in my scrap pile. Now what you can see is the pattern that we made from our bullseye cane that we made into a triangle, our stack cane that we pressed underneath, our 2 jelly roll canes, a half of a bullseye on each side, and it's coming very, very nicely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my table, and I want to cut this first into half, which is right there. And then I want to take each half and get 3 pieces at least. So I'm going to measure and see how much do I have to make my 3 pieces. I think I have about a ½ inch for each of the 3 pieces, and I have a little left over there. I'll just put that down. I'll take this half, do the same thing. I've got ½ inch, an inch, an inch and a half. Now all my pieces are perfect. They're quite thick, and that's okay. But what we're going to do is look at them and decide how to put them together. Now we can put them together with the points facing each other. We can put them together with the green jelly rolls facing each other. Any way that you want to do it is fine. Now I like the points together, so I'll take the first 2. I'm going to match them up quite carefully. And there are 2 that work just fine. All right, now I'll put 2 more together. If you've cut them straight, they're going to look good. If they're a little bit crooked, well, we'll fix that up after. We'll trim them up. So those 2 are together, and now I will place these 2 together. All right, so I've got my 3 sets of 2. Now it's just a matter of joining up 2 and 2, putting these 2 together like so, and then placing the last 2 into place. Try and match up your pattern as exactly as you can. If it doesn't seem to meet, again, clay will push and pull and go in the direction that you wish it to go. Now, this is a hexagon, so in order to make it straight, all we need to do is hold one side and press with our blade on the other. Then lift it and turn it. Hold it, press it, and that's going to make it straight. Again, hold it and press it, and that's going to make it straighter yet. So here we have a really nice hexagon shape that is our mosaic cane, or it is called kaleidoscope. Now, more experienced caners would then take this narrow ½ inch piece, pressing all sides and turning until they made a piece about this long. We aren't going to do that because it's our very first time. So what we're going to do is take our knitting needle instead, and wherever the 2 pieces came together, you're going to just use it gently to roll those 2 pieces so that they seam together. The line disappears and they become part of each other. So take your time with this. Just use your knitting needle and straighten it out as best you can. Straighten it out. Straighten it out. All right. Now we can use the needle and just maybe roll right over it a little bit without distorting the whole thing. We don't want to do that. And we're ready to make our brooch or our keychain or our pendant, depending on what it is you want to make. Now, this size, if we use the rolling pin, we will distort it. We don't want to. So what we want to do is we want to turn it on our end. We don't want to make a pendant that's quite this thick. And what we want to do is carefully cut it in half. Now I'm going to put my blade on there, and I'm going to very carefully saw through. I'm going to turn it and continue to saw right through. Turn it. We're trying to keep our eye on it so that we're cutting it exactly in half. That way you'll have 2 1/4-inch pieces that you can use for a brooch or any other piece of jewelry that you like. Now I'm almost around. Back at my beginning, I think I can probably saw through more carefully here. and get right down to the bottom without too much distortion. Checking, you can see my blades moved a bit over here, so I'm going to move it back. And down we go. And we have 2 brooches. Now, just from the cutting, they distorted again a little bit. So what we'll do is use our blade, press our clay, and get it back to that hexagon or sexagon shape, all right? So as soon as you've done that, you then will take a small piece of paper that I've given you, put it on top, and you're going to use your finger and gently burnish the piece. Now what you're doing is you're trying to move bumps so that they're more even. You're trying to get this piece so that it's the same thickness all the way around, but without distorting it. So we can gently burnish it with our finger. And when you think it's looking like it's pretty good, you could take your roller and very gently from one side, roll toward yourself, across, turn from the other side, roll across, turn from the other side, roll across, back from you, roll back from here, roll back from here, roll back. Now, we're going to lift our piece and we can see how flat it is, but again, because of the rolling, we've distorted a bit. So use your blade to straighten it out again so that you have a perfect piece. We're going to bake these and then put a brooch pin or a bail on the back with a necklace so that you have a piece that you want to take home. Use your blade to lift it off because from all the work that you've just done, it's going to stick. But you can see now, you can move it if you have to, you can see now that we have a beautiful pendant or a beautiful piece that we can use for a brooch. You have a second piece that you can do anything that you want with, or you can hand that in when you're all finished. So that's our mosaic or kaleidoscope cane. Take the canes that you've made already. If you think you shorted yourself, you better make a few more and then begin with your top triangle, pieces underneath it, pieces underneath that, until you get a nice equilateral triangle, and then begin to press it in and measure on your measuring board before you do any cutting. All right, I'll come around and see what you're doing. Thanks.